All right. So tell me a little bit about your story. I know that you're a successful business person. Been an ad exec. You started out, 2002, you sold that business, I believe. And I mean, you've been around success, it sounds like, your whole life.
Yeah, you're seeing, the good part of it. Like yourself, I have a tale to tell. Mine did not wind up in prison, thankfully, but easily could have with some of the choices and decisions I made. So, very briefly, by introduction for your audience, so I was brought up with very middle class parents, very loving and wonderful parents. I had an older brother, a great guy. And at 16 years old, I started smoking. Always wanted to be a baseball player for the Yankees growing up in New York, but only playing 3 months a year. That didn't happen. So advertising was the next best thing. I went to Syracuse University. I graduated high school a year early, wanted to get out, explore the world. Syracuse was great, but my drug, use really kicked in Syracuse. I went from pot to Quaaludes to cocaine, which eventually, along with Percocet, destroyed me. And it doesn't matter which drug takes you there, and alcohol is a drug as well. It just matters where you get. I remember sitting in a Gamblers Anonymous meeting as well. I had that issue. Nice to have both. Why not? And I was looking around the room, and all the people had come there, from different things, different. It didn't matter what your quantity of use was. It didn't matter how often. We were all in the same place spiritually, broken and destroyed. And that's what my drug use did to me. Interestingly enough, I was very high functioning. So I graduated Syracuse with 2 degrees, an advertising degree and a sociology degree. I went to work on Madison Avenue. My drug use increased, but I was high functioning. And even all through my life, I actually moved away from New York, Sean, in 1985 to get away from my drug addiction. I figured if I can get away from the people that I was around, that would do it. Of course, that didn't work. And it followed with me. I went down to Florida. It continued and continued. And it just finally, in I want to say 1990 something, for the first time, it really hit me that I was out of control. I always used to be able to party, but come back, especially in college. I could do an eighth of cocaine and be fine a day later. Well, the older I got, it took me a week to recover. It took my body and mind time to recover. And eventually it got the best of me. I was still high functioning. I started my own TV production company. I built that company with a partner from 6 employees on a borrowed $100,000 to 200 employees doing millions of dollars in revenue a year. But I was raging drug addict. And last comment to that, in the beginning, I used to only do drugs after work. 5 o'clock at night, I take Percocet, Quaaludes, whatever. It was fake Quaaludes by that. But then there came a point where it was 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and then 5 o'clock. Then it was noon and 2. Then it was 10. That was when I woke up in the morning. And I knew I was hooked. And here's the fascinating part. I would have stopped using drugs 2 years earlier if I would have known how easy detox was. I was so scared of the withdrawal process and what it would do to me, because I knew I was so addicted, that I kept functioning and doing it. When I finally went into detox and then rehab, I couldn't believe how easy it was. I mean, the drugs they were giving me in detox were as good as what I was taking. And they weren't addictive. In 4 days, I was done. And I wanted to stop. So for me, again, high functioning, I didn't lose my family. I did, well, I take that back. I lost one marriage. The first time I was married for a year to a very sweet girl. And I was at the height of my drug addiction. And we were going to have a baby to kind of save her. That didn't work. I went on another cocaine binge, and I'll never forget. She came in and she threw something at me. And she said, "You're a loser, and you'll always be a loser." And eventually after that, gig was up one morning. I didn't show up for work. My partner knocked on the door. I said, "Go away, go away." And by the way, Sean, there were no cell phones back then to text somebody that you're okay.
Mm-hmm.
If I had a cell phone and could have texted people I was okay, I could have avoided a lot of pain and heartache for myself and everybody else. But that, I don't know, cocaine, you couldn't talk after you did it for a day or two. You were like, and then it became the enemy. It became paranoia. In the grade, I literally thought that the world could solve all their problems if all the world leaders would sit around a table and snort cocaine. There would be world peace. That was in the beginning. That was in the first year, just like a kidnapper opening up the candy saying, "Come on in." But then it's, "I got you." And believe me, it is the devil. It trapped me. It sucked me in. I thought this is what an animal must feel like when he's trapped, in a trap. But fortunately for me, I did detox. I went into rehab. I learned why I do drugs. I learned about it. And, fortunately, it's been a great ride since then. I've been able to help people. By the way, I still have the desire to do drugs. It's never left me. I have friends who it's been taken away from. They're like, "No, I don't have any desire anymore." Well, guess what? That desire has never left me. I'm not doing them, and I can only speak for today, and I pray tomorrow and the years to come. But It's been many decades now, but I still have the desire. We were talking earlier, and there were parts of it that were fun. There were parts of it that were great. However, the pain and suffering and what I went through, the hell I went through in my life and what I put other people through, I don't want to go back there. So if there were no downside, I would do it again.
Yeah, I would agree, but unfortunately, not to mention that it's just bad for you, it's health wise, and you don't even know today what you're getting with the fentanyl and everything else that's, getting laced into these drugs. You just don't know. And then one thing that you'd mentioned, you don't have to go to prison to have a bad story. You know what I mean? Whatever's the worst thing that you've been through is the worst thing that you've been through. You know what I mean? And not what I've been through. You can only measure it by what you've gone through. So, I mean, some people hear my intro and they say the same thing. It's like, no, man, it doesn't matter. What was the worst thing that you went through is the worst thing you went through. There's no, it's not a, what do they call that? A contest. You know what I mean? It's, whatever it takes to get you there and to get you to stop doing what it is that you're doing, the behaviors that are debilitating to you and the people around you.